The idea to do all of these things, where did the initial idea come from?
I always believed in the power of the mind. I always believe that if people will get education, if people get healthcare, if people get everything that you want them to get, if first you change their mindset to even believe in themselves, in the capacity of their being.
Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the High Builder Podcast, a podcast where I chat with entrepreneurs and professionals to dive into the details of how they've built their careers and businesses. And today, I'm excited to be chatting with a journalist, a media practitioner, an entrepreneur, and a political consultant. Join me in welcoming the amazing Debola. Welcome to the show.
Hi, John. Good to be here.
So I typically start this off like a pressure cooker. And my first question to you then is, in your career so far, what do you consider the most impactful thing that you've done?
The most impactful thing I've done? I think that's a complex, a tough question to answer because since I was little, I've always been driven first by impact. And I sat with another founder 2 nights ago for dinner, and I said to him, all the value I found in my life, all the businesses and opportunities that have come to me in my life, came from me first trying to make impact. Trying to make impact amongst my peers, trying to make impact in the lives of young people across board, trying to make impact, in the lives of women, girls, in nation building, everything. It's all come from me trying to do impact. And when I go all in, trying to make impact, it just spirals, opportunities. When we founded our company over 15 years ago, 2 years after I founded my first company with another friend, we founded, Red Strat, which eventually metamorphosed into Red Media, and then became Red eventually. Red Strat was born out of our work with young people. We created something called the Future Awards, which was focused on changing the narrative around and about young people. We're going through a phase where older people, just like you see now, did not give the right opportunity to young people, did not have respect for young people, did not think we were competent, we had any form of capacity. And to be fair to them, at the time, the narrative for young people was all about partying, quick money, internet fraud at the highest, and all sorts of negative things. And the idea of youth at the time, for many of these older folks, were SUG, student union groups, NANs, and then all those, bodies that came together because institutions understand institutions. So oftentimes, if young people who are cool, influencers, yada, if you don't organize yourself, the organized institutions do not recognize you. Not because they are truly organized, because if you check the underbelly of many things in Nigeria, you find a lot of dysfunction. But on the surface, they like to engage organization. In actual fact, it's because when you come out of organization, maybe that's why it's easy to be able to find a way to manipulate or whatever it is. But the point is, if you don't go as an organization, they don't engage. And so we then became the platform that organized young people. Curated young people, the brightest and the best, and used them as the symbols of what it meant to be youth, and gradually began to change how people engage young people generally. Opportunities began to be open more to young people. Loans became open to young people. Contracts became open to young people because all of a sudden they realized that we had a single story and that there were several other kinds of young people that we showcased. We also then brought that energy and ignition, amongst young people themselves that led to a ripple effect because the more 22-year-olds, 24-year-olds saw their peers as the future was nominees or winners, shining lights, it encouraged them to realize that I might complain and moan about Nigeria all day, but somebody else is working in the same Nigeria, creating opportunities and becoming successful. And so that they created a ripple effect and enlarged the critical mass we're curating. One of the biggest points of that critical mass was 5 years into the future was 2010, after doing it for 5 years from 2005, was enough is enough. When we galvanized young people to engage politics beyond Facebook and Twitter complaints. And we had what at the time was the biggest movement of young professionals demanding for change in our country. It was at the time where the National Assembly had refused to make the then Vice President, Goodluck Jonathan, the acting president, when we didn't know if our president was dead or alive. At the time where the jobs crisis was an all-time high, electricity was zero, the country was in a mess because there was no leadership. And after that march, not only did they make him the acting president, the president joined, I think, Twitter. He was already on Facebook at the time. But when he noticed the power, the coalition, that we had brought together, he had to come to the platform where young people were. And in 2011, for the first time in the history of Nigeria, where they were used to the patronage of all these student union organizations, a sitting president left the state capital and came to Lagos to have something that was called the Youth Lunch, where they came to meet young professionals. And they started seeing young people from a different light. And since then, the respect for young people had changed. And so everything you see today, without government engages young people, was born from that event in 2011. I remember before the event, they hadn't taken us seriously. I went around Abuja trying to get permissions. I was arrested by SSS, dealt a lot of challenges. We invited many media houses, they didn't come. But by the time we used the power of Twitter, and enough is enough was trending 1, 2, 3, 4 around the world. Al Jazeera was on the phone, CNN was on the phone, BBC was putting us live, And so that day, the power of social media and the voice, deepened its impact and began to make government also see social media differently, But where am I going with all of this? Backtrack to 2005 when we began the Future Awards. We were hope peddlers. We're trying to peddle hope to young people, to make them see what they can be that they've not yet become, to make other people see the power and potential of young people and believe in Nigeria through the eyes of young people. So it was a big marketing campaign, but we didn't realize that what we were doing was marketing until a brand would ask to sponsor the awards. I will not sponsor the awards, but I want to ask you guys to please help me promote a product. Then it was called Airtel now. I think they were Zain at the time. And we ran a big campaign for them for their youth platform. And that was how the marketing company was born. And then from then on, we put the same skills, in marketing, hope and building young people also into working for organizations. And that became very important for us because we realized that as young people, advocacy alone would not pay the kind of bills that you need to pay to live in life. You need to have work. You need to have work. Unless you because we're social entrepreneurs. We're not advocates or activists. And so because of that, we realized that we need to have a business. We need to have a job. So we then from then on expanded into all the things we've been trying to do before, where we were trying to create TV platforms, radio platforms, content platforms, young people, and it picked up with the internet. And people were now paying to be on your platforms, advertisers. So all the platforms we created just to give young people a voice now became platforms that brands wanted to place advertising on, and that also helped us raise, that also helped keep our company going. Because we now became a content company and at the same time a communication company. But all of these things, we formed them because we just wanted to give young people a voice. And that continues to drive us until today.
That is so powerful, and it resonates with me more ways than one. Which then kind of like inspires this question then is like the idea to do all of these things, like the snowball, the different arms, marketing, media, all of that. Where did the initial idea come from?
I think it's just, I was fortunate to find people who thought like me, who had the same passions, shared the same vision like me. Since, again, little I remember clearly, I've always cared about other people. I've always wanted to make other people better. I always saw myself that I had a responsibility to go and find answers for my peers, or that I had a responsibility to get my peers into rooms they couldn't go into, or I had a responsibility to create opportunities for my peers. I don't know why, I don't know how, but that's just how I've always felt since I was a little boy. I've always felt like, I should be able to, send people to school, help people with healthcare. It's just been a burden. And I then realized that, how could I do this? And I kept searching, but the biggest, on my mind at the time was I always believed in the power of the mind. I always believed that if people will get education, if people will get healthcare, if people get everything that you want them to get, if first to change their mindset, to even believe in themselves, in the capacity of their being and their essence and their values, and they're able to then project that, work hard around that and create a value that people can come and pay for. And so, I've always believed that when you're able to help people find that innate power, find their superpower, and they are disciplined enough to work on it, create it as value that people can pay for, then they have the economic means to get education, to get healthcare, and all of this. When I was in high school, I started working. So I've always believed that, no matter what life throws at you, you've got to just put yourself in. Don't cry over spilled milk. The milk is spilled. What are we going to do? And so when I was in high school, I joined the local theater troupe, trying to raise money, to fend for myself, and trying to raise money to be able to get transportation to go to auditions to go and find opportunities as an actor. Because I always thought that the way I could, motivate people and, encourage them and get them in that right mindset is through the media, through films at first. Eventually I realized that, it wasn't just television, because remember that when we were younger, films were the ways that morals were passed. So I thought that was the way. But again, one of the lessons I learned early in my life is that once you have a mission, once you have a vision, it can actualize, but doesn't have to be the same route. So I found out when I found an opportunity to be on television, being a TV presenter and producer, that I could still do the same thing. So one of the first shows I ever worked on was called Youth Talk. And the idea of Youth Talk was to give a voice for young people. So we've been at this passionate point of trying to give a voice, trying to make young people heard, trying to make them seen. We had this show on NTA all night long. It was a midnight show. So we would wake up and leave our homes at about 11 p.m. or 10:30 to get to the studio at 11:30, 12, and sleep for about an hour, wake up and get ready for the show. The show was showing at 2 a.m. to 3:30 in the morning. And then we'll wake up again at 5 a.m. and get back on the bus to go back to Sule. All because we wanted to do this TV show that give a voice to young people. So first I tried to be an actor because I thought that was the path. Eventually I realized that all I needed was a platform that spoke to many people at the same time. We started that show on NTA. We were being paid 0 naira for about 6 months or so. And then eventually they started paying us 2,000 naira, I think, per month. And of course, I learned another lesson there. And I thought, you're now popular on TV. When we're on the bus, people will see us, young people will be saying hello. So when we got the first salary, I said, okay, I'm going to start entering taxi now. No more bus, because I'm a big boy. Of course, after entering taxis twice, the money was finished, and I was back to square one. So I had lost the money, and I'm back on the bus. What was the point? So I learned my lesson. You don't spend as you earn. But I've always been driven by that. And so everything I'm doing today has been there all along. Up to even just speaking, standing in front of audiences and speaking. When I was in primary school, I would speak at the assembly, I would do debating, I would do drama, all of those things. But everything has always been focused around impact, creating a better space, creating a better life for my peers, for my generation, for people who are behind me, and even for people who have gone ahead of me, because I've also enjoyed the benefit of the older people.
Two things that you said that really stuck with me in the last answer that you gave was the mind and education, because those are very important drivers in whatever mission or vision that you had. So how did you build that? Like in the sense of how exactly did you build the knowledge base that allowed you and afforded you the opportunity to undertake this very big opportunity?
I've always been a curious child. That's why I sought answers everywhere. I sought answers in Mills and Bones. I sought answers in Frederick Forsyth, Jeffrey Archer, Daniel Steele. Those were the books I read. I didn't read all the motivational books or the self-help books. I didn't read them. I read novels. And the books took me to Vietnam and Italy and the Americas, and they showed me the world. I picked lessons from the book, lessons on business, on the mafia, on drugs, on good, on bad, on evil. I picked all sorts, and I had to choose, and I still chose my life of impact. I still chose a life of service to people. On love, Romeo and Juliet and all of that. But then I also read the books in the library in school, the books, our textbooks. I read the Chinua Achebe, I read Jimmy Johnson, I read Olaotimi, several of those books that we had to read in the course of, that was my favorite thing to do. I read Omoluabi, Omodo. There were many of the books we read, in primary and high school that had deep messages. But I found myself first in those books in my grandmother's library, and a few other places where I found those books. And those books were the ones that took me around the world. The ones in school then taught me about values and community and culture, and love for my people. But the other thing I did and where I learned most would be from just being a curious child. You see, there are 3 seasons in life for every one of us. There's the morning time, the afternoon time, and the evening time. The morning time is your 0 to about 24, 25. The afternoon time is from about 25 to about 50. And the evening time is from your 50 downwards. And I was fortunate that in my morning time, I sat at the feet of those who were in their afternoon time and their evening time. I spent a lot of time watching my uncles, watching my mom's siblings, watching people rise and fall, watching people and trying to understand the decisions that they took that led them to the result and the end of their lives. And it helped me know what to choose and what not to choose, where to go and where not to go. In sitting at the feet of those who were in their afternoon time, it helped me understand how to accelerate my arrival in my afternoon time, or it helped me understand how to, in my morning time, be invited to the tables where key decisions that could be life-changing were made for people in their afternoon time. So while I was in my morning time, I was able to do things and take decisions and get opportunities that, quote unquote, belonged to people in their afternoon time because I had learned the ways of the afternoon time. That's why they say when you go to Rome, you behave like the Romans. When you want to get opportunities in a certain place, you learn how they behave. Then you also engage in that manner, but with your own refined, and your own value and your own person, to even ensure that you now get double, what other people get. There's a proverb in my place that says, "Omode to ma mowo we ababa jeun." But you see, for you to mowo we, you have to watch agba. If you do not watch how they wash the hands and the technique, you will not know how to do it. And if you don't know how to do it and it's getting messy, you will not be invited to those tables. And so the biggest part of my journey is sitting at the feet of teachers, of kind-hearted men and women who mentored me, who supported me. And just because I use the word mentor, I have to also quickly say that oftentimes people always think until someone who's popular mentors them, they will not succeed. It's not true. There are many clerks who became MDs around you. How did they do it? There are many women who are selling on the roadside, who are sending kids to school, who are sending kids abroad. How are they doing it? There are lessons to learn from everywhere. Even from those that failed, there are lessons to learn. And oftentimes when you see popular people, watch their lives, watch their videos, read their interviews. You don't need them to sit and talk to you for you to learn from them. Just read their books. Just everywhere you see, follow someone, follow their habits. Social media also gives an opportunity to get into their world. So you don't need to wait. You don't need to bombard them until you mentor me. No, there are things you can learn. There are many people I've learned from just by watching. And so eventually, of course, we've read all the Good to Great, Who Moved My Cheese, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We've read all those books, and I dare say to you, they're good books to read. But the biggest lessons I've learned in my life have come from the people I've interacted with. From sitting down at dinner, on the floor, in some house, in some place far off, deep in Ejigbo, or from sitting at tables of gracious mentors, or sitting at, palaces and the halls of kings. You know.
What outlets or channels do you believe give you the biggest opportunity to show your entrepreneurial abilities?
What outlets or channels? I would say Nigeria. Nigeria gave me the biggest opportunity to show my entrepreneurial side. You know, Nigeria taught me grit and resilience. Nigeria taught me patience. Nigeria taught me how to keep my emotions in check and how to, you know, use my emotions when I need to use it, as opposed to just how to deploy it as a tool, as opposed to just, you know, becoming overly reactive at every situation. Nigeria taught me to plan and prepare. You know, oftentimes people get on the street and complain so badly about this, that. When I'm leaving my home in the morning to hit the streets in Nigeria, I'm prepared that, you know, there might be a trailer on the road and there might be traffic. So what do? I go on my Google map and I check for the best routes. I don't just hit the road and get angry and upset when I could have just gone on Google to check. Nigeria makes me plan myself. So I'm not going to hit the road at this time. I'm going to hit the road at that time. It makes me think and say, okay, there are problems here. What kind of ways can I solve it? You know, Nigeria shows me opportunities, massive opportunities. You know, oh, this person is failing in this area. Can I talk to him to pitch to him this idea? You know, so Nigeria has pushed me to find opportunities in too many problems. Nigeria has taught me to be patient. I know that I'm dealing with human beings every day who are dealing with different weights on their shoulders, and they can come at me in certain ways that would probably get me upset. Because I already know that, I'm not going to cry over spilled milk. I know the milk is about to spill. I can see it's steeped already. So what do? I prepare for the spill. Because I know it's coming. So Nigeria has taught me to prepare for the spill. It has taught me to put my patience cap on. It has taught me not to waste my emotions and get angry unnecessarily, because if I do that, very soon, you know, then I begin to become, you know, edgy, you know, an angry person, or whatever it is. You know, like you find on the road. And so Nigeria has also taught me to also pay for services. When I was less comfortable than I am now, when I was living on the mainland, I had to scrap that. When as early as 10 years ago, I had a driver. I wasn't earning much at the time, but I knew that I couldn't deal with that road and the wahala on the road. Also, I spent a lot of times going from office to office. And in Nigeria, you know, when you get to an office, you have to look for parking and then walk in and all of that. And so I knew that if I had my 25K, even though it was painful to earmark that much money at the time to pay a driver, but it was important to me because it helped me be more productive. And I had my days on Okada. I've had my days where, you know, I take a bike from Iyanopaja to VI. You know, at the time I was producing a show that was showing in the US, in the UK, in Europe, Nigeria International. It was a big show. But when we're producing the show in Iyanopaja. And then we will be editing, it was just me and my executive producer, who was also the editor. And he lived in Iyanopaja. He had moved back from the UK and moved to a house in Iyanopaja. And for him, Molwe and all those things were normal. Oh, it's just a bus. Get on the bus. You know, so for us in Nigeria, what am I in Molwe? You know, but anyway, I would go on the bike because we would edit the show and it'd be so late because it's just the two of us producing, writing, everything. And to beat and meet the show before 7 o'clock, I'll leave Yakwaja on the bike all the way to, you know, to the island. And then even to go to meetings for pitches, you know, for marketing, I'll get on the bike, and when I get to the office, I'm covered in smoke. I mean, not covered entirely, but I'm smelling of smoke, engine oil from the fumes of the cars. And I have sand on my face from the dust on the bike. Guess what I do? In my bag at the time, my laptop bag, I had a hairbrush, a hand lotion, and a small bottle of perfume, and a comb. Yeah, hairbrush. So I go straight to the bathroom. When I'm on the bike, I remove my jacket and fold it so it doesn't catch the smell. I go straight to the bathroom, I wash my face, wash my hands, put some water on my hair to remove the dust, and I dry up, brush my hair, use the hand lotion on my hand and my face, put on the perfume, put on my jacket, clean my shoes that would have been dusty at the time, and I walk back to that reception with all the confidence in the world. My name is Debola Williams. I'm here to see, you know, the so-and-so who probably is the MD. But this MD doesn't know that this young boy has just come here on a bike. and this was not how he smelled 2 minutes ago when he walked into his office, But Nigeria taught me to do that. And anywhere I go to around the world, I'm able to study, understand, and find where are the opportunities. Nigeria doesn't give you opportunities on a platter. That's why they say, everything in Nigeria is not a la carte. It's a buffet. And the point is, because it's a buffet, you need to convince either the people on the queue why you should be in front, or you need to find a way to get yourself to the front of the line, one way or the other. And sometimes it's by carrying other people along. So when you get to the front, you share with them. Sometimes it's because you're any which way, within integrity and fairness to get to the front. And so, I've had all of these experiences in Nigeria. And for me, I take it as a blessing. I take it as learning. I get it. I wake up every day and it fires me up. It forces me to lend myself and open myself and get to find, opportunities. I remember a couple of years ago, about 10 years ago, I was on the train with my brother in the UK, and he asked me and said, "Do you regret not having a British passport?" Because I was born in London, but I didn't get a passport. And he said, "Do you regret not having a British passport?" This was about 11 or 12 years ago. And I laughed. I said to him, "I don't. No, I don't. I'm happy to be in Nigeria. Because if I was here, I imagine that I'll be here trying to get a passport, cleaning some dead body or something. But in Nigeria, I'm trying to build my life. I'm seeing problems and I'm solving it. And I'm happy. Because every time I've tried to solve a problem, it's brought me blessings. And I think that for me is the biggest thing about Nigeria. And that is why I would say Nigeria is the reason why I'm an entrepreneur today, and whatever success I have today is because of Nigeria.
That is really powerful. So what then would you say your own estimation has been either your character trait or demeanor or temperament that has given you the most that has given you the most to achieve all the successes that you have?
I mean, aside from just sheer grit and determination that you must have as a Nigerian, that you must have every day when you wake up, and I like to point out that it's not the kind where would to the answer. You want to or the hustle spirit that Nigerians. Sometimes Nigerians like hard work as opposed to smart work. Nigerians think that oftentimes we as Nigerians think there's until you go to carry konkere and blah 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 blah. But you can work in a company, but be extra dedicated. You can get a skill that will upgrade your life. Raise money, get a skill, upgrade your life, and give you new opportunities. You don't have to stay in one place to do some hard manual labor, only for you to say, "Oh, I'm a hustler, I'm on the street." You can actually do that for a while, raise money, get a skill, then move to the next level. Don't stay in one place. But I think the biggest, character trait for me or value would be gratitude. Gratitude has changed my life. Gratitude from the beginning of my life is always half full, never half empty. And that's why I can manage my emotions as well. I always try to see from the other side, from the positive side, from the good side, from the joyful side. When people get disappointed, I'm like, why? Let's be grateful. We didn't get this, but we got this. We're alive. That's good enough. We have tomorrow. We can go again. That's good enough. So gratitude changes the game in everything. Sometimes people treat you a certain way when you're a seed and just sprouting, and you get upset. No, be grateful that you're even able to have the opportunity to talk to those people. Sometimes people are like, "Oh, I tried to talk to this person, didn't answer me." Be grateful that you're even in that room. Let that gratitude now inspire you to want to come back, rather than anger and disappointment that makes you draw back and not want to go to somebody else again. Because the moment you see that as a disappointment, it chips your confidence and makes you think, "Oh, you know what? That's how these people are. I'm going to close up." Be grateful you're in the room. Even if 100 people don't talk to you, come back again. Be grateful that you have access to come back again. Some people didn't get a second chance to come to that room. Be grateful that you have access. And you see, you've got to understand your seasons in life. There are seasons where you're a seed. There are seasons where you're sprouting. There are seasons where you're grown a bit. There are seasons where you become a tree. There are seasons where you bear fruit. When you're a seed, you're small. You're in the soil. People will trample on you. People will throw shit at you. Forgive my friend, what is shit? Shit is manure. Manure, what does manure do to seeds? It helps you grow. The Bible says when you fail in the days of adversity, it's not because it's because your strength was weak all along. It's not because you were weak, it's because you never had that strength. So all the things that life throws at you is to build up your resilience, is to build up your strength. It's like being in the gym. The work you do is chiseling your body and cutting the kind of man or woman you want to be. And so you have seasons. So when you're a seed, be grateful for the manure, the shit they throw at you, the people that trample on you and all of those things. But don't just stay down. Also draw all that you need. You know, it's how you see it. If you see it as shit that is destroying you, then you stay down. If you see it as manure that helps you grow, then you sprout. So you've got to take it in gratitude, in grace. And as you continue to sprout, see, people will see you. Some will not. People are looking up. They're not looking down oftentimes, especially men. You find more women even believing in you when you're a seed than men, because women are nurturers, women birth. They're used to having small children and raising them to big people. Men are used to touch and go. And they are used to now, when their son grows or their daughter grows, connecting her to opportunities. That's how men are wired. So if men don't answer you now, if you're trying to get attention for your business, it's normal. Try to talk to women. You'll find more empathy with women. That's one of the things I learned in my career, in my journey. And then, when you become a tree, also be grateful. Don't be upset and say, oh, because that person did not, talk to me or help me when I was a seed, I'm going to be mean. No, that changes your spirit. And you never exhaust blessings. So the person that did not help you as a seed can still help you when you're a tree. Because you see, the fruits you bear needs to also come back to the soil and grow more fruits for you.
That's how you make a forest.
That's how you make a forest. And you're not entirely secure when you just have a line of trees. It's when you have trees that have become a forest, then you're now safe in that, thickness. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's important for you to understand your seasons and take everything in good stride and in gratitude. In my marriage, I try to practice gratitude. I tell my wife all the time, when something comes that seems to wants to upset us, I say to her, listen, baby, if you're grateful for me, if I'm grateful for you first, and we remember why we're together, that thing becomes a third party and steps out, and we can both together deal with that thing. But the moment you're upset and attached to that thing, you put a wedge between us, or I put a wedge between us, and we start talking over that thing and start going further. But once you're grateful and say, you know what, this cup broke. I've told my husband, stop putting this cup on this seal. He doesn't listen. Now he's broken this cup. But he's my husband and I love him and I'm grateful for you, baby. Okay, how are we going to deal with this? Something happened between me and my wife the other day about someone we're going to hire. And we misunderstood each other. And I thought she meant something and she thought I meant something else. So she now said, oh, but you're the one that did it. I was in shock. I'm like, no, you did it. I said, no, you did it. I was flummoxed. Like, you did it. But I had to remind myself, I said, calm down, calm down, calm down. She's certain you did it. You're certain she did it. But both of you lock your hands together. So, not physically. I went up, came and said, grateful for you, baby. Listen, it's us against this. So, what are we going to do? This is what I'm thinking we're going to do. Before I said what I was saying we should do, she had the same plan. Then together we came, and we now realized that the thing we're fighting over was not even worth it. That the person we thought was not even, that we dodged the bullet by not hiring that person. But some minutes ago, we were both already just going to put that person in between us. But I remembered gratitude. So gratitude can be used in different ways. But I said, I'm grateful I have you as a wife. I'm grateful I have you as a partner. And so because of my gratitude, this thing is not enough to make me upset with you. And it changed, and eventually we found the enemy. And so I apply gratitude in everything. In opportunities that I lose, I apply gratitude. In things that I thought I deserved that I didn't get, I apply gratitude. At every point in time, I'm grateful. And I think that spirit is what continues by the grace of God to open the door for me.
That's really beautiful. So, what's one of the most difficult challenges that you faced so far in your career, and how did you overcome it?
That's also a question that I find hard to answer oftentimes, because of a man who's always grateful, and a man who always sees challenges as opportunities, and who always sees loss as things that God has orchestrated and faith, and so ends up in gratitude. You know, we've dealt with all kinds of challenges, you know, but there are things that come in the course of life. You know, I thank God that I haven't had to deal with something that was insurmountable. We ran challenging campaigns that we managed to turn around and created huge successes from. I think I'm just grateful that I'm not sitting here and having to say some challenge that, you know, was so big and was impossible to, you know, so there are things that, if you ask other questions, you know, the things that I would say that to somebody else would be like a huge challenge, but perhaps if it's my person, my spirit, you know, but at the moment, I'm grateful to God that I haven't had anything that I'm going to come on TV to say, oh, you know, it's such a huge, you know, because every challenge we've had to deal with, from raising funds to managing staff, you know, to when we didn't have an office, to when people didn't listen to you, you know, to when, you know, the partnership I had in the first time was going to, you know, be dissolved, or when we had, you know, restructured and also dissolved that partnership at some point, you know, all sorts, you know. But for me, I'm just grateful, you know, and so I'm literally trying to actually say things just to be able to answer this question for you. And it's something I've always struggled with. It's a particular question I've always struggled with because of how I see life. You know, because of how I see life. But are there things I want to be better with personally? Maybe that will be my challenge. You know, maybe it's just so I want to be much more on time with some things that I promised to do for myself. You know, I want to do a bit more for myself in some areas. I say, well, I want to, you know, or there are certain burdens I carry, you know, that I committed to do, you know, for other people. And, you know, even though it might be challenging, but, you know, I try to do it. You know, I try to, even I'm uncomfortable, I'm unhappy. You know, I have to say to you that this interview was tough for me to do. I know. But for Bada, you know, I just couldn't say no, you know. So yeah, I really just, I'm trying to find an answer for you. And I think, and I have to say it on TV, that I am grateful to God that I'm struggling to answer this question. I'm grateful to God, and I hope that by His grace, you know, He
continue to struggle to answer the question.
By His grace.
That's amazing. So finally, given all you've accomplished so far in your career, what is on the horizon for you for the next 5 to 10 years, and how do you plan to accomplish it?
I think I take each day with the grace of God and gratitude. I know that my life is committed to service, and I would continue to find opportunities to serve, create platforms to serve. You know, I recently wrote a book last year for young girls. It was quite, you know, very far off in that sense. But I've always cared about young people, and I've always cared about kids and all of that. But I found that I was drawn into this book that I was trying to write as a gift to my 3 goddaughters, print it at home in my printer, put it in a brown envelope and send to them. And it suddenly becomes a book, like a real full-blown book, you know, and suddenly it's a book that I'm distributing to schools. People want it in South Africa, in Rwanda, in Ghana. Slumberjage bought 8,000 copies 2 weeks ago, or last week. You know, no, about almost 10,000 copies between on Platform Capital, Lagos State Government. People are buying the books, distributing the books for free. Because I'm trying not to sell the book, you know, but I have to sell at some point because people want it around the world, and I'm not putting it on platforms that you can access it, you know, in terms of physical book. So I'm still at some point going to have to do that. But generally, this is a book I just wrote as a gift, and it's become this big thing, and events are happening on the book, and by God's grace the book is going into animation and documentaries and all sorts of things. From just trying to create impact in the life of girls, it's become a big thing. And that's how things happen in my life with the grace of God. Trying to do one small thing, just this thing, and then it just takes effect, because impact first. I was just trying to make impact in the life of girls and women, and it's become this big deal, and so I see myself continuing, over the next couple of years to see it committed to the cause of women and girls, particularly because we need a lot more men, in the forefront of advocating for gender equity and getting the right opportunities across to women, helping to reduce the stumbling blocks that stop women from being able to fulfill their potential, from education to sanitary, because the age when women go through and they begin to need a level of privacy and sanitary, in their evolution, it stops them from going to school in certain parts of the world. So there's that. There are opportunities, with GDP explosion when women go to school, areas with no water and no care, women end up being the ones who are turned into primary caregivers to families. So young girls out of school because of poverty. So there's a lot that can be done with women and girls, and that's important to me. I continue to do my work in government, with governance communication, helping political leaders, advising them. And the beauty of the work we do is that we try not to just advise people to do things just for the media. We try to advise our clients to truly create platforms and opportunities that make impact, and then help them tell that story. So we believe very much, in corporate social marketing, as opposed to just general marketing. I'd rather have my client, spend 100 million naira building a school and bringing all the attention on the school and praising them for that, as opposed to carrying that 100 million on a concert. So even with our work with government, our job first is to advise government on doing the right thing. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't. So you win some, you lose some, but because you must also always be grateful, for the ones they listen to, and hope that they continue to be able to, push, force, and shape, and for them to do even much more. So this is us. Continue to work, in our corporate marketing. This year, though, I've taken a backseat much more and spending more time, expanding the impact work with the girls. But I continue to advise leaders. I continue to maintain my advisory with leaders in government, leaders in the corporate sector. Because every now and again people reach out to me, they want to structure, their legacy plans and storytelling, family offices, and want to know what they can do to create impact, in the society. And so, you help HNIs and CEOs and even governments, to have a decent legacy rooted in development, rooted in humanities, because that's the job. The job is to wield our influence and relationships and get them to add value to society.
That is amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
For all the time that you spent and squeezing out time of your extremely busy schedule to make this work at such a short notice. That's the chat for today. Follow me on all the socials at Juwan_IO. If you found value in this video, like it, subscribe, and